Hey guys, welcome back. In this particular video, we are going to talk about the basic definition and scope of accountancy. And along with that, we will start with the accountancy standards. Okay. Guys, whenever we talk about accountancy, so there are so many things which is involved with this particular subject. Okay. And basically, it is generally known as the language of business. Okay, so you can define, or the basic meaning of the accountancy is, so the it is a language of business. Like, let's say if you are preparing accounts for any XYZ company, so what was the past of that particular company? Okay, who are the major stakeholders, what is the performance of that particular company? And so like how basically stakeholders, they are generally maximizing their wealth through different actions. What will be the future course of actions, so which is all that generally depend on the numbers. So these all numbers, like, which generally follow a complete process, which start from a recording of data. Then we have classification, which is also known as bookkeeping or ledger system. Okay, then we have summarizing of data, then we have reporting, then we have interpreting. Okay, where we generally use different ratios for the future decision making. Okay, so accountancy is nothing but it is a business language, or on the basis of that past and present data, we are generally making decisions for the future. So in this particular video, we are generally going to talk about the basic introduction of accountancy, which we already discussed. Then we have what is accountancy process, nature of accountancy. Then we have accounting standards, and accountancy versus bookkeeping. So what is the key differences between these two terminologies? One is accountancy and another one is bookkeeping. Okay, let's just start with the accountancy process. So now, what is accountancy? As I earlier told you, so whenever we talk about the accountancy, it's a language of any XYZ business. Okay, so we can say it is an art of recording, classifying, summarizing the data, and on the basis of that particular data, we generally interpret that particular data, and we make our future decisions. Okay, we means the stakeholder of that particular company or investors for a particular XYZ company. On the basis of that particular data, they generally make their decisions. Okay, so it's a systematic. Whenever we talk about the accountancy, we do follow a process which start from recording, then we have classifying, then we have summarizing that particular data, then reporting of that particular data, like balance sheet, wala things, and then we have interpretation of that particular data. Okay, so we generally analyze that particular data and we make our future decisions about that particular company as well. Okay, so this here you can see the entire process of the accountancy as well. So first, we generally record data, like all debit and credit entries. So whatever transactions we are doing that particular in that particular company, to run that particular company's day-to-day operation or any XYZ project. Okay, so we have number of inflows, number of outflows. There are number of day-to-day activities happen on daily basis in any company. So we record all the data in the form of cash book, or even we have a number of cash book and others means and all to recording this one. Then we classify that particular data. Let's say in a company we have number of transactions, so then we classify those x number of transactions in different heads, those generally known as bookkeeping or ledger process. So we have different ledgers, like that company deal with in raw material. We have different raw material, we have employees salaries, we have number of accounts. Okay, so a proper classification for each and individual. Then we summarize that particular data through trial balance and other aspects. Okay, so where we generally summarize that particular data, what is the overall income and what is the overall expenditures. Then we prepare reportings, we prepare reports which are generally known as balance sheet, or you can say company account 1 and company account 2. And on the basis of that particular one, we interpret that particular data or we make our future decisions. Okay, so being a stakeholder of that particular company, so what are the strong areas, what are the weak areas, what are the alternatives for the investment, and how to maximize the wealth of shareholders, stakeholders. So on the basis of the given data, we generally use that particular one. So this is the entire process which we generally use in accountancy. So it's an art basically. It's a part of art. Okay, so it is an art, recording, classifying, and summarizing in a significant manner. So significant manners mean we do have some standards. So on the basis of these particular standards, companies, they have to maintain their this particular data or balance sheet, or BRS statements, or the different kind of reports. Okay, and in term of money transactions only. Okay, so when we'll come to the conventions of accountancy, so we will understand these particular things. Like, we do not consider the goodwill things or the health of stakeholders and all. So we only consider those things which are generally related to money only, and events which are in part of last financial character, and interpret that particular data for the future need. So it's a language of business. So you can summarize this accountancy as a language of business. Hope this is clear to all of you. Now, if you talk about the accountancy, so we heard about few things. So, like, first we have classification, a systematic classification of business transactions in term of money and financial character. So money, like whatever transaction, let's say, being a company, you paid salaries to your employees, so it's a money transaction. So you, that will be part of your accountancy process. Financial character, you made some investment in some securities and all, so that will be part of that particular one. But notional profit or the health of stakeholders or owner of that particular business, so that is not considered, or that is not part of your accountancy process. Okay, so first we have bookkeeping, where we generally create different ledgers, we collect data, and we create different segments, so we can further use that particular one. And this entire data, that is in term of money, and it has a financial character. Then we summarize that particular data in trial balance and balance sheet. So trial balance and balance sheet we use, and we summarize, like, we, in case of bookkeeping, we have different ledgers. Okay, because a company will deal with number of like entities, so for each and every entity we have different accounts. So in trial balance and balance sheet, we generally summarize that particular data. So after that, interpreting the financial transaction on the basis of the balance sheet data, we generally use that particular data for the future decision making about that XYZ company. So this entire process is generally part of your accountancy. Hope this is clear to all of you guys. So to understand accountancy, you need to understand these basic things. I know most of people, they generally aware about this particular process. Still, we will go with the basics, then we'll come to the advanced. Okay. So purpose of accountancy, I hope now it is clear. So it's a, like, to keep a systematic record, result of operation. Like, if being a company, we are running some project, so what is the outcome of that particular project, how we are using our resources. Okay, and how to maximize the wealth of stakeholders, financial position of that particular business, how that particular business is doing quarter on quarter basis or year on year basis. Okay, so performance, we can check the performance of that particular company by using different ratios, or by studying the balance sheet or trial balance of that particular company. Okay, to facilitate rational decision making, so future decision making can be done on the basis of the given data, or on the basis of these particular statements, satisfy requirement of law and useful in a many aspects. Like, we have some accounting standards, or like, we have some set of rules and regulations for companies. So are these companies are following these guidelines properly or not? So on the basis of this one. Okay, so there are so many uses, there are so many purpose of accountancy in the system, and it is generally used in different ways as well. Okay, now there are two terms. Sometimes students, they generally get confused between accountancy and bookkeeping. So the one thing is, whenever we talk about the bookkeeping, it's a prior process of accountancy. Okay, so we can say it's a narrower term. Okay, bookkeeping is like there are number of transactions that happen on daily basis in our organizations. So to keep a record of these particular transactions, that is generally part of your bookkeeping. Okay, so let's say you are running some small company, you spend some money on like let's say pantry cost is, or you book some, you buy some stationery. So all to keep or to prepare the data for all these small transactions in different books, so that is part of your bookkeeping. Okay, we have ledgers for the proper segmentations of this particular data. So ledger books, these are generally part of your bookkeeping. But when we enter in trial balance, or when we come to the difference, like sometimes we have difference in balance sheet as well as the bank accounts passbook. Okay, so we use BRS statements. So these all are generally part of your accountancy process. Or even like when we use the past data or the given data, like data from balance sheet or different ratios, so that is a part of accountancy. So accountancy is generally a broader term, which we can say it's a broader term, or bookkeeping is generally part of your accountancy. Okay, so both they have their importance, because like without bookkeeping or without the defined ledger, you cannot prepare your accounts. Okay, but if you see the scope, so accountancy that has a broader scope. So bookkeeping is the recording of business transactions in a book or ledger. Accountancy is a wider concept, which is a way that one in a position to understand a state affair of that particular business. This line is very important. Okay, so through bookkeeping or through ledger, you cannot understand the performance of that particular business. But if you talk about the accountancy, so if you have that particular account, so you can understand, you can analyze the performance of that particular organizations. Okay, so it has a broader aspect. User of financial statement, like are sorry user of financial statements are income tax department, shareholders, investors, banks, financial institutions, and all. Okay, so they generally use this part. Let's say if you want to invest in some XYZ company, let's say if you want to invest in TCS, so before making that particular decision, you'll go through the fundamentals of that particular company. And fundamentals which generally include the accounts of that particular company. You will study the accounts of that particular company, how that particular company is doing in last 1 year, last 10 years, or last 5 years. What is the earning per ratio for that particular one, for that XYZ company, or what is the debt to equity ratio. So you have different data. On the basis of that particular data, you'll make your investment decision in that particular company. Okay, so it is in the interest of financial statements reflect true and fair view of a state of the affair in an entity. So like with this particular data, so you generally make your investment decision, being an investor, or even like with this particular data, we'll have a transparency in any XYZ company. And as per the accounting standards, it is mandatory for the companies, they have to present this particular report. Okay, because or even they cannot falsify that particular report. So because the investors, they generally making their decisions on the basis of these particular financial statements only. So hope the difference between accountancy and bookkeeping is also clear, and the purpose or the basic meaning of the bookkeeping is, the accountancy is already clear. Now we'll talk about accounting standards. In this video, I'll just introduce the accounting standards. In our next video, we will talk about the detail of accounting standards, all 32 accounting standards, and what is the provision. One thing about accounting standards, this part is very important, and so many times examiner, they generally ask question based on accounting standard, they'll give you the different areas, like they'll give you earning per share is part of which accounting standards, or accounting standard one include what. So these kind of questions, so you need a basic understanding about these accounting standards as well. And even you need to remember these particular one. Now the question is, what is accounting standards? So whenever we talk about accounting standards, so these are some set of guidelines, these are some set of rules and regulations. Okay, so let's say if you are you can take any example. Let's say we have insurance industry. So for to run this particular industry, we have market regulator, which is IRDA. Okay, so IRDA will generally provide rules and regulations. Okay, so if you have a willing to start an insurance company, so these are the guidelines. You have to follow these particular guidelines. Then only you can start an insurance company in India. Similarly, for banks, we have some set of guidelines. Like if you want to run a bank in India, so these are the guidelines under RBI Act, under Banking Regulation Act. So you have to follow this particular one. Okay, so even if you want to start some company, so we have Companies Act. So similarly, accounting standards, these are some guidelines. Okay, and like if you maintaining let's say if you are running some company, so you have to maintain the company's record in this particular manner. Okay, so with accounting standard, they generally give you how you will maintain the company's data, or even what is the mandatory data which you have to maintain, or which you have to disclosure on every year or in the specific time duration. Okay, so these set of guidelines, they are generally known as accounting standards. So these are nothing, these are some set of guidelines which is generally provided by the authorities to the companies, and in they have some defined process, and on the basis of this particular process you have to maintain your company's account. So every functioning body that operate need a defined guideline. So as to maintain the procedure and standard of the operations of its own business, the rules that make the policy common for organization. Now, like the second line is generally based on, so this these guidelines are not for a specific company, these for all. Okay, so let's say we have 100 IT companies in India, so all 100 companies, they have to follow the same guidelines. So we have a similarity. So investor, they like the outcome of that particular that particular statement will be similar. Okay, so companies, they cannot change these particular standard according to their portfolio. So they have, these are the guidelines which are generally issued by government, basically for your basic understanding, you can say. So every organization, they have to follow this one. So this remain same for each and everyone. Like for banks guidelines, which is same for all banks, which are generally given by RBI. Similarly, here as well, we have a set of guidelines which is applied to all organizations. Okay, so guys, in this particular video, we generally talk about the basic of accountancy. Like to understand, like if you're planning to understand accountancy, or if you want to understand the accounts, so you need to understand the basic things. So this is the basic. You do not need this is more than enough data for your accountancy introduction. Okay, so if you understand this one, this is more than enough. Okay, and in next video we'll talk about the different accounting standards, their uses, and how companies, they have to follow these one. Okay, and every accounting standards we will discuss in detail, and then like one by one we will cover the entire syllabus of accountancy, or accountancy and financial management for bankers as well. So hope you enjoy the video. If you like, please do subscribe. I'll come with more videos. So stay tuned. Thank you guys.